Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? I hope you're all well. Now, before we kick off with this webinar session, if anybody's having any sort of technical challenges in viewing this session at all, as we are live today on YouTube, feel free to go through the usual kind of, troubleshooting that we all tend to go through if something doesn't work for us first time around. So if you are tuning in via a desktop or a laptop computer, feel free just to hit the little refresh button on your web browser page now. Alternatively, if you are tuning in via a mobile device, such as your smartphone or tablet, feel free to come out of the YouTube app and then click back on the link that you received for this session, and hopefully everything should be working for you. Be sure to also grab yourself some pen and some paper, just so you can kind of jot down some notes. I know when I'm kind of either learning something new or reinforcing some of my previous learnings, then I always like to just have something kind of nearby so that I can take notes if I wish to going forward as well. So you might want to kind of do that for this session as well. Now, one thing to note with this webinar is that live captioning is available. So if you did want to use that feature, all you have to do is hover over onto this YouTube video, and you'll see the letters CC inside of a small square box. That is the icon for you to toggle on and also toggle off the live captioning here on YouTube. So I hope everyone's geared up for this session. So welcome to this Google Digital Garage webinar session, all about how to get started with digital advertising. My name is Rikesh. I'm going to be your presenter, taking you through the course of this session, which is going to last for approximately 60 minutes. So I'll kick off first with just a little bit about me. So I'm a trainer for Google's digital skills program, Google Digital Garage. As well as that, I'm also a digital marketer here in the UK. So what that means is I work with businesses to help them to create and to grow an online presence in order to attract more customers and clients to their business offering. Now, one kind of significant element of the world of marketing, and especially marketing online, i.e. digital marketing, is a consideration for advertising. Now, advertising, as I'll probably kind of mention throughout the course of this session, very much requires budget, money. That kind of that's kind of the fuel that kind of makes the advertising car go, right? So that's something to always be kind of aware of. But even if you're kind of not in a position yet to advertise for your organization or your business, this webinar session will hopefully kind of piece together just kind of a few ways that you can maybe consider later on in the future if you wish to advertise. That this is kind of the step-by-step approach of how you go about doing that as well, which is going to form our webinar session today. So that's just a little bit about me. I'd also like to introduce to you at this stage my colleague and fellow Google Digital Garage trainer, and that is Mohammed. Now, Mohammed is going to be our wonderful chat moderator today. So you might have noticed on the right-hand side of your YouTube screen, or the bottom right-hand side of your YouTube screen, depending on which device you are looking at this YouTube webinar session from, Mohammed is in the live chat, which is the chat box that hopefully you've been seeing kind of messages kind of scroll up your screen. That is your space over the course of this next hour to drop in your comments, drop in your questions, and if kind of time allows, myself and Mohammed will be able to kind of provide our thoughts on some of the questions and comments that do come in. So feel free to kind of get involved in the live chat going forward. I know some of you have been kind of letting us know where you're tuning in from. I know I kind of asked a quick question before we kind of went live, just to ask where everybody is tuning in from for this webinar session. So we got Igor tuning in from Thailand. So welcome to Igor. We've also got Chin tuning in from Vietnam as well. We've also got Tatiksha tuning in from Bangalore in India. So welcome to you as well. So welcome to everybody for tuning into this session. We've also got Benedict. Hope I pronounced all of the. Hope I'm kind of pronouncing all these names correctly. Who Benedict's tuning in from Hanover in Germany. We've got Farhan tuning in from India. We've got Panakota tuning in from Bucharest, Myra from Belgium, and we've also got Michael tuning in from England, which is where I'm based as well. We've also got Jay Angela tuning in from Philippines, as well as Akshit from India, as well as Mayuri tuning in from India. So welcome to you all. It seems like we've got not just kind of a national audience in kind of the UK and England, but also we've got kind of an international audience as well. So it's fantastic. And also finally, just we've got Roshan tuning in from Nepal, and Sabir tuning in from Pakistan, Mohammed from Wales as well, and AK tuning in. Tuning in from Saudi Arabia as well. So it's great to see we've got kind of a very much kind of an international flavor to this webinar session. I really hope that you find this webinar session useful, because we have kind of more than one of these types of webinar sessions. So if you have a look either at the kind of the link down below me, but if the link down below is not kind of working for you, I'm sure that Mohammed will be able to drop in the link in the live chat for you, because that is a link for the Google Digital Garage, which is the website which maybe some of you might have used to actually sign up for this particular webinar session. You'll find links and kind of schedule details for other webinars that the Google Digital Garage run as part of their webinar offering. Now, these webinars, just like today's session, is available for you to attend completely at no charge. So you can actually check out some of the other webinars that we actually run on a variety of other predominantly digital marketing related topics that you feel might be kind of relevant and useful for you and your organization as well. And the beauty of kind of the Google Digital Garage as a program is that all of our kind of training sessions, including kind of webinars just like these, are very much aimed at those of you who maybe don't know anything about digital marketing at all, right the way through to those who may have kind of used it a little bit as well, and it'd be kind of a nice refresher for you as well. So be sure to kind of check out the resources and kind of the webinars on the Google Digital Garage website. We've also got online courses that you can complete in your own time at your own pace as well. But without further ado, let's look at what we're covering in this session, all about how to get started with digital advertising. So in this session, we're going to be looking at kind of 3 different types of digital advertising. First up, we're going to be looking at search advertising. So we're going to be kind of going through what that kind of entails. If this is maybe an advertising avenue for you, if that is, how does it look in terms of you actually creating an advert that will appear on search engines? So we're going to be looking at that first and foremost. Once we've done that, we're then going to be looking at display advertising. So we're going to be understanding what is display advertising, and again, how does it work? How can you get yourself set up? What is the what is the step-by-step approach for getting going with that type of advertising as well? And then finally, we'll kind of round off this session just by looking at social media advertising as well, how to kind of get going with that as well. Now, before we get going in this session, I want to draw your attention to just kind of one final resource before we get into the webinar session, and that is this, which is a really fantastic tool. And you can see the title says free one-to-one mentoring available from Google. So it's a really fantastic tool for those of you who are eligible to make use of. And the eligibility requirement is what you can see here on screen, which is that you either run or work for a small business or charity based in the UK. If that is the case for you, then you are able to check out more details and sign up for a Google mentoring session using the link on screen. I'm sure that Mohammed will kind of drop this in the chat for you as well. This is your opportunity to have that kind of more tailored discussion, because I appreciate fully both kind of delivering these kind of webinars kind of virtually, as well as kind of delivering in-person training sessions in the UK. I appreciate that whenever we kind of deliver these sessions, we can't kind of go into specifics with any particular individual, and that's where these Google mentoring sessions come into their own. So you're able to have that kind of that video call with a Google mentor. You'll get up to 1 hour to kind of talk through any sort of digital skill support. So it's not any area online presence. So it could be having a chat through kind of digital skill support in regards to maybe making improvements to your website, or in relation to improving your social media presence, or having a discussion about advertising online, which is going to be kind of our theme for this particular webinar session. So if this is relevant and useful to you, and you meet the eligibility requirements, then be sure to kind of check out Google Mentoring as a resource. So kicking off this session is search advertising, first and foremost. So this is, as you can see here on screen, it says advertising on search engines. So whether it be like the likes of Google, Bing, or other search engines out there as well. So the best place to kind of start is just to kind of dissect kind of the anatomy of a search engine results page, which typically looks like this. Now, It will look different depending on your device. It will look different depending on what's being searched for and where you're searching for it as well. So these are all variables, but we're just kind of showcasing, just kind of in brief detail, what some of these sections are. And I'm sure many of us are very well versed in what each one of these sections are as well. So at the top, you can see it says takeaway pizza. That is the search query box, which is where somebody's actually typed in for takeaway pizza. So whatever anybody looks for, even when we are Googling things, we type what we are looking for into that search query box. Then we get the first actual result of the search engine results page. And you can see we've kind of highlighted this in the yellow box here, which is kind of the advertising space. Now, we're not going to be going into this in this particular webinar session, but you may see before kind of the text-based adverts, like you can see here with the Domino's Pizza, you might see above that kind of shopping-based adverts that might appear in kind of a what they call kind of a carousel format. So you'll have kind of a few different products, for example, or kind of specific pizzas that are available for takeaway, and then somebody can actually click on the little arrow button and actually go to other pizzas perhaps as well. So that might appear first, but we're just kind of focusing upon, for the purposes of this session, just on kind of text-based adverts that appear on search engine. You can see one right there with the Domino's Pizza advert as well. Now, after that, you've then got the organic listings, or kind of the organic search listings. So this is basically where we can have our website listing appear at no charge, just by very virtue of us having a business website set up. For example, we will appear within this section. Now, we might appear within we might appear kind of on the first page of the Google search results, which would be ideal, because as kind of search behaviors over time has kind of found, is that we don't tend to kind of look past kind of the first part or kind of the first page of any kind of Google search results. I mean, we may do, there might be kind of anomalies there, but generally, because we're all kind of in a hurry and we have kind of shorter attention spans these days more than ever, to be kind of prominent on kind of the first page results is kind of where we want to be. But we might be appearing on the 15th page, we might be appearing on the 7th page, and that's kind of the rub. And that's something that we actually kind of speak a little bit more about in detail in our webinar session that we actually run, called Get Your Business Visible on Google. So if that's of interest to you, if you want to kind of learn a bit more about that in terms of kind of the organic search listings, then be sure to kind of check out when the next running session on that topic of Get Your Business Visible on Google is going to be as well. So that's kind of the anatomy there of a search engine results page. We've got kind of the advert. You can see with the advert, there's only one advert there just for kind of illustration purposes. However, there might be up to 4 adverts that appear kind of on the top of the page of kind of the first part of the search results. Then you'll get maybe kind of your organic listings, and then you can have maybe up to 3 search adverts that appear kind of just towards the bottom of the page as well, before you click onto the next page going forward as well. So with that in mind, throughout the course of this webinar session, rather than just kind of talking through what each one of these types of digital advertising are about and how to get going with them, I want to kind of bring in a little bit of a business example just to kind of illustrate what we are talking about at every step of the journey. So with that in mind, I want to actually introduce you to Paulie's Pizzeria, which is, we've actually made this pizzeria up. It is it's a fictitious, but it is an Italian restaurant situated in Edgbaston in Birmingham, which is based in the UK, for those of you who are aware where Edgbaston in Birmingham is. So that is our business. So we're using Paulie's Pizzeria, and for the purpose of this webinar session, we're making sure that Paulie's Pizzeria is a real breathing business. Now, Paulie's actually set as the remit here, because Paulie said, right, I want to increase sales and I'm interested to know how digital advertising can help my business. Okay, so we're going to be going through each one of these 3 digital advertising kind of options in order to evaluate what's going to be best for Paulie. So the first one that we're actually going to be going through here is running adverts on search engines. You can see here a process for search engine marketing. So you might have actually seen either this phrase search engine marketing before, or the phrase SEM because in the world of marketing, everybody seems to love a good acronym. But all that essentially stands for is basically placing adverts that appear on search engines like Google. And you can see the step-by-step process here. And you can see the very first step here is understand your customers, or understand your potential customers, if you want to phrase that as well. Then it's a case of finding keywords, creating an ad copy, or kind of designing the advert and kind of creating the words for that. And then we'll put all the steps together. So we'll go through each one of these in turn, just to kind of digest each one in terms of what they mean and how we can maybe apply this to our own business once we kind of look at how these particular steps apply to Paulie's Pizzeria as a business as well. So step one is understanding your customers, and you'll kind of come to find when we get on to kind of the next part, or the next type of advertising as well, is that this very step will form the very first part again for very much most, if not all, types of advertising, because our customers or our potential customers, they are what give our advertisers breath. They are what give our advertisements life as well, by them coming onto it and viewing it and maybe taking actions off the back of that as well. So the more that we can know about our customers, the more that we can make sure that they are seeing our adverts and making sure that we are visible when they are when they are kind of on certain websites, for instance. It's a little bit like if for example you needed to kind of nip out and actually go and grab a loaf of bread, but when you kind of got to the bread aisle, you saw that the whole of the bread aisle was empty. There were no loaves of bread on the shelves at all. So for the bread manufacturers and also for the supermarket, that's a missed opportunity, because somebody who would have bought your loaf of bread is not there when you as a consumer, as a customer, is there as well. So we want to make sure that we are kind of in those places as well. And that actually begins from this step one, which is understanding our customers in terms of multiple different ways. So if we actually apply step one to Paulie's Pizzeria first and foremost, so these are three important questions that we really want to kind of ask about our audience, ask about our customers, a person or the people on the other end of the screen who are going to be consuming our advert, or who we want to consume our adverts as well, kind of our ideal type of customer, let's say. So let's have a look at kind of the first question, which is, who is your audience? Who is your customer, if you want to rephrase that as well? So name 3 potential target audiences who may be searching for businesses like yours. Okay, so this is a remit that we've kind of set to Paulie, and this is something that we can't necessarily answer because we don't really know Paulie's Pizzeria that intimately. We're just kind of working with Paulie's Pizzeria just to help them to evaluate their advertising options online. Now, Paulie's actually come to conclusion with 3 potential audiences, and actually come to the table with students, busy professionals, and pizza lovers. So these are kind of not 3 potential types of customers that Paulie's plucked out of kind of thin air. These are kind of based upon Paulie maybe doing some homework and research, and kind of just general having the general know-how of knowing how their business works and how it runs, in order for them to evaluate, to say, yeah, from October onwards, we definitely get a lot of students who want to get our pizzas kind of takeaway, etc. as well. We also get a lot of busy professionals kind of coming through the door who just want to kind of grab a pizza in kind of our meal deal. And then you've got kind of your pizza lovers, who they've kind of identified as those who are a bit more kind of connoisseurs in terms of how kind of pizzas work, how their pizzas kind of taste as well, and they're able to kind of be a little bit more kind of, I guess, gourmet with that as well. So they've kind of identified 3 different types of audiences here. Now, where are they? So we can kind of name 3 places where they might be. So this is geographical. So we can sort of identify 3 places they might be. So we've identified here Edgbaston, which is where Paulie's Pizzeria is. So if you are a local business, make sure when you're going through this kind of exercise, this step 1, if you are going to be running adverts, that is on search engines, to make sure that where your target customers are based is going to be geographically close to where you are based as well. You've also got Paulie's Pizzeria. We've also identified with a postcode as well. for the local area, and also they've got another area which is in Birmingham. As I've got to know Birmingham over the years myself, Selly Oak as well. So that's been jotted down, and that's because Selly Oak is very much a studenty kind of area. There's a lot of kind of student accommodation around there as well. So Paulie's definitely done his homework here in terms of where are they based. Now, in terms of what's important to them, we want Paulie to kind of get into their mind in terms of what are people said in their feedback, or what are the comments or the compliments, let's say, that Paulie gets on a frequent basis as well. That's something to kind of evaluate and kind of notice in general as well. So things that kind of Paulie's picked up on here is a variety of toppings. Paulie's also been able to understand kind of fast delivery. Is that kind of an aspect as well as kind of authentic ingredients. And you can actually marry each one of these up to the audience members. So maybe students actually prefer having a variety of toppings, because they're probably, just from my own personal student experiences, they're probably living with other kind of flatmates or housemates, whereby everybody kind of wants certain toppings on a pizza. So having a variety is going to be a winner all round for everybody as well. Fast delivery is probably going to be most handy for the busy professionals, because they might get home from work late and they just want to make sure that their pizza arrives on time so they can eat and do other work before they go to bed, for example. And then for pizza lovers, something that's very important to them is that authentic ingredients are used, that they might be using a stone baked or a wood fired oven to make their pizzas as well. So you can sort of marry them up in general as well. So that's something to consider with that step one of understanding your customers in general as well. So step two is to create what's known as a keyword plan. So before we actually look at keyword plan, we want to understand, what do we mean by a keyword? So a keyword, you can see here the definition. Keywords are words or phrases that are used to match your advert with the terms that people are searching for in that search query box that we looked at earlier on. So a keyword, and this is something which actually confused me when I first got into marketing, because I thought keyword, okay, it means a singular word, but a keyword can mean a word or words or phrases as well. So it can be plural. So the word pizza is a keyword that someone might enter into the search query box. The words takeaway pizza that we looked at earlier on, that is a keyword. Another keyword is, where can I find the best late night pizza in Edgbaston, Birmingham, which has lots of topping options, ? Which is really, really long as a sentence and as a question, but that is a key word as well. So in order to actually find out and kind of do our research and do our homework with keywords, we can use kind of a combination of two tools. One of the tools is a tool that is actually built into the platform that you use if you want to run search engine adverts on Google, and that is a tool called Google Ads. So all you need to do is sign up for a Google Ads account. Once you've signed up for a Google Ads account, you can actually then use a tool which is built within that platform, which is a tool called Keyword Planner. Now, you can actually use Keyword Planner without having to run any adverts. And the reason why it's kind of designed that way is because you want to be doing your research. You want to do your homework with Keyword Planner to find out which sort of words, which sort of phrases that people are currently using in order to actually ensure that kind of certain businesses that kind of sell your product or service are actually then showing up in general. So we can kind of use the Keyword Planner tool to actually kind of create a bit of a plan in terms of what words and phrases that we can use within our own advert. But also we can use another tool which is called Google Trends. And if you visit trends.google.com or just type in Google Trends when you Google it, you'll be able to kind of see the interest over time of certain keywords, certain kind of phrases as well. And one thing to note is our words, our phrases that we use in terms of keywords, they will change over a period of time. So that phrase near me we weren't necessarily using that a decade ago very liberally, whereas now we use it very liberally. We use it a lot. So if I'm looking for pizza in Birmingham, I won't necessarily just type in pizza in Birmingham. If I'm based in Edgbaston and I'm looking for some pizza, I'll probably just type in pizza near me now or something. And that's something which, as kind of search engines have evolved, they've been able to kind of understand what we are looking for, which is right. We want to find out where we can get our hands on some pizza in our locality where we are based right now at this very moment, and also the word now as well. So something that a place that is open now for us to go in and actually get that pizza as well. So let's actually come back to kind of Paulie's example here and actually think about what sort of keywords that we can kind of make for Paulie here. And you can see that we've got these 3 boxes here. So we've got kind of keywords that are close related to your business. So these could be the likes of pizza or fast food or takeaway that Paulie could use. And then he can also combine them with keywords that are closely related to Paulie's locality. So it could be postcode, it could be Edgbaston, it could be Birmingham as well. And the reason why it's important to make kind of some of these combinations, so we get the likes of pizza Edgbaston or fast food Birmingham, for example, is because we can be more specific. Because if you're looking to be found for the likes of pizza, the chances are there's probably a lot of competition from other businesses who are looking to be found for just that word pizza. So we can maybe make ourselves stand out from the crowd. So Paulie could be like, right, I want to make sure that an advert for Paulie's Pizzeria shows up when somebody types in pizza Edgbaston, because I am a pizzeria and I'm based in Edgbaston as well. So people can kind of find us because they're being more specific in terms of their search query. And we are ensuring from our end, from kind of the advertising end, that we are making sure that we are being found for the right keywords and being as specific as possible. So if we kind of go through a little bit of kind of an exercise here in terms of matching certain kind of keywords with the businesses that you can see here in kind of the in the colourful boxes here. So we've got kind of different categories here. So we've got mobile hairdresser in Birmingham, phone repair shop in Birmingham, a cupcake shop in Birmingham, and then just to be different, we've got an online fancy dress shop as well. So that's kind of not location specific. And if we put these keywords in order here, because I just looking at it before, it was all kind of mixed up as well. And I wanted to kind of put it all in order here. So you can see that, for example, for the mobile hairdresser in Birmingham, them as a business can be found for Barber Birmingham, which they might get a bit of traction and kind of footfall from. It might be for Hairdresser Reviews Birmingham. They might be running an advert for that. It might be mobile salon, and they're being really specific here, which says B21, which is the prefix of a postcode in Birmingham as well. And then kind of on the other end of the scale, you've got the online fancy dress shop. Well, how can they stand out? Because they, as a business, are not location specific. And that's what we've been speaking about with Paulie's Pizzeria so far. So what can they stand out with? Well, they've kind of used some phrases here, such as cupcake costume. Maybe they've done some research and found that there's not many fancy dress shops that sell cupcake costumes, especially if Halloween's coming up. Right, there's not many people that kind of sell either cupcake costumes or sell men's Halloween costumes in triple XL. Or sell kind of American football referee outfit as well. So you have to kind of get creative if you're not necessarily location specific as well. But it's important to create a plan with these keywords in terms of what you're going to be using and what you want to kind of be found for, what you want your advert to pop up for. And be sure to kind of review this on a regular basis, because as I mentioned, our search behaviors change over a period of time as well. So that's kind of step 2 when it comes to creating a keyword planner. Step 3 is to create engaging search adverts. And the keyword for me there is engaging, because we don't necessarily just want our adverts to appear. We want to make sure that people are clicking onto our advert and then hopefully buying from us or getting warmer to buying from us, let's say, as well. So in terms of actually creating our advert, this is where we are able to actually, for a text-based search engine advert, you might see kind of a page similar to what you can see with the screenshots here. It might be a little bit kind of blurry on your screen because it's a little bit kind of, the writing's a little bit smaller here, but you can add in what's known as ad headlines. And this is where your keywords from the previous step come into their own. So you can see here, we've actually added a couple of ad headlines here. So we've got the likes of Pizza Takeaway in Edgbaston, which makes sense for Paulie's Pizzeria. But also they've got kind of a second headline, which is also kind of a little bit of a phrase and a little bit of a catchy slogan, which says fast 15-minute delivery on there as well. And then you've got kind of the actual, you've got the link to Paulie's Pizzeria. Now, that link in particular might not necessarily be the link that takes that individual to Paulie's Pizzeria's website, but that is what is known as a display path. So it could be Paulie's pizza.co.uk/pizza/takeaway, but the actual website link might have some numbers and letters in amongst that as well. But this is just kind of what is visible in terms of the advert. It will still take that individual to the website, but it might not necessarily show up as that exact particular link as well. But it just makes our advert look a bit more, let's say, aesthetically pleasing, rather than having lots of kind of numbers and letters and very long kind of website link there as well. And then we've got kind of our description. So this one's really geared towards the free, the fast 15-minute delivery, because it says pizza to you in 15 minutes, or we'll give you a free pizza. And then it says order now there as well. So you might have actually noticed with this particular advert, this particular advert is actually catering to those busy professionals that Paulie identified earlier on in kind of step one in terms of understanding one type of his customer. So what we want to really do is consider whether we have such a diverse section of customers who value different things, because we can make sure that we can run adverts off the back of that as well. So if we actually have a look at these kind of three boxes here, so for people who value convenience, so these are those let's say these are those busy professionals. So fast 15-minute delivery, which is what we used as a headline earlier on. It could be scheduled delivery available. That is something which could be useful for busy professionals as well. So we want to kind of correlate these ad headlines with the actual advert that we are creating in general as well, and in relation to our ideal type of customer, the person who we are looking to kind of attract on the other end of the screen as well. Now, for those people who value variety, so this may well be in kind of the category of the students. So maybe using ad headlines such as, you've got examples such as 17 different toppings available, or a different deal every day. And I know from my student days that having different deals every day is very handy to kind of actually see that and notice that, and that would definitely kind of pique my attention as well. And then finally, for people who value an authentic experience, and these might be those pizza lovers, those pizza connoisseurs, the pizza bloggers, for example, maybe for them, using phrases in your ad headlines such as the likes of authentic Neapolitan pizza or live Italian music on Fridays, for example, might actually kind of grab their attention more as well. Now, step 4 is all about putting all these pieces together. We've kind of sort of talked about kind of setting up and creating a text-based advert on search engines. So how do we do this? So let's have a look at how we do this if we are going to be doing this on Google. So the way that we do that is we can log in and actually set ourselves up with a Google Ads account. Once we're in, we can select a campaign. So we click on new campaign, and the type of campaign that we are creating is very much in line with what we are creating it for. So we're creating an advertising campaign that is going to appear on search engines, hence why we click search type of campaign as well. Now we then move on to kind of location, where we want to kind of target our people based in kind of the postal area of Edgbaston, or where else are they kind of based. Then what we also want to do is we want to fill out, you can see here, our keywords that we want to be found for, because these keywords are essentially what we kind of bid for. So if you kind of think, it works a little bit like an auction, where we place a bid on how much we are willing to pay per click that somebody makes on our advert, based upon what sort of words we want to be found, what sort of keywords we want to be found for. So whether that be the likes of Pizza B15 or Pizza Edgbaston or Fast Food Edgbaston, for example, we can kind of make a bid as well. And if we are one of the higher bidders, let's say, then we can appear within, let's say, the first 4 advertising text-based slots on the Google search engine results page there as well. Now, before we actually go into step 5, remember what we want to do is we want to actually use tools such as the likes of the Google Ads Keyword Planner in order to research what sort of words and phrases that we want to actually be found for as well. And then the 6th and final step that you can see here on screen is to actually go ahead and create. So create your headline, create your display path to kind of make your website link look a little bit prettier, add in your description as well. And then the beauty is you can also see not only how it looks on desktop, but also crucially on mobile, because we are a mobile first world nowadays. And our primary device is our smartphone. So when many of us are looking for various businesses nowadays, our primary kind of device or go-to device first and foremost is our smartphone. So we want to make sure that our advert looks the parts and looks correct on a mobile device on a smaller screen first, and then also make sure it looks well on a desktop device as well. So with that in mind, let's have a quick check-in with any questions. Let's have a look. I can't see any questions at this stage. So just kind of picking up actually a quick question here from Michael, who's asked about kind of attraction in terms of seeing things in terms of kind of statistics and data. Yeah, that's something that you can actually see in terms of the information. What you can also do is you can actually tie in your Google Ads account together with your Google Analytics account. So you can actually see what is the journey between somebody actually clicking onto your advert that you've created and actually seeing that journey path of individuals who are clicking on onto the advert, then going onto your website, and then what are they interacting with and what they're engaging with on your particular website as well. And we actually speak a little bit more about that in our webinar session, Michael, which is called Get Started or kind of Get Insights with Analytics rather. So if you check out the Get Insights with Analytics webinar session, you'll be able to kind of have a bit more of a deep dive there as well. But thank you very much for that question. It is important because with any type of advertising, it is important to check and actually it's important to actually check how well you're performing and then make adjustments and corrections off the back of it, especially because there's advertising budget at stake. We want to ensure that we are getting a return on investment as much as possible as well. So thank you very much for that question, Michael. If there are any further ones, feel free to pop them in the chat, and myself and or Mohammed will be able to kind of provide our thoughts as we go along, as we move into our second type of digital advertising that we're going to be discussing here, which is display advertising, or display ads for short in general. So what are display ads? So display ads look typically like what you can see with the screenshots here. And I'm sure many, if not all of you, have encountered or seen these before. So they can be text-based adverts. Most commonly, they are image-based adverts because we're very much visual learners these days. So images do tend to capture a lot more attention, but they can also be video-based adverts. So if you kind of check certain websites, they might actually allow video-based adverts as well. I like to kind of look at display adverts in general as kind of like the billboards of the internet, because they kind of appear in very niche kind of spaces. I definitely noticed this in the UK when I kind of check out kind of local news websites. There might be kind of an advert, a display advert at the top, on the bottom, maybe on the sides as well, of a particular web page, and right in the middle is the actual article that you're looking to read as well. So display adverts are very much, as I say, like kind of the billboards of the internet, especially with the visual aspect. So how do kind of display adverts vary and differ from what we've just spoken about with search adverts or search advertising? So search advertising, what we've literally just spoke about, is where we are placing an advert that appears exclusively on search engines, or especially in kind of text-based ads versions, appearing exclusively on search engines like Google. And the main objective with these types of adverts is very much to generate sales. So a lot of the times people will probably run adverts or text-based adverts that appear on Google search results, when they've kind of built up a name, once they've built up a following, when people kind of know a little bit more about them, and the kind of the main motive, I guess, the main goal of running these adverts is to generate sales, kind of get more people to your website and then clicking and go ahead and buy from you as well. Whereas display adverts are a little bit different, because these are adverts which are ran on other people's websites, essentially kind of publisher sites. So this could be local news websites, it could be blog sites, it could be a plethora of other kind of websites that essentially allow for advertising to take place on their website and on their kind of their web page real estate essentially as well. But the main goal here, as kind of is in line with kind of the nickname I used for display adverts of being the billboards of the internet, is to drive awareness and interest and intrigue more so than anything else. And then people can find out more if they click on the link as well. And not everyone will click onto it, but as long as we're kind of getting that name and awareness out there, that is essentially us doing our job in general as well with these display adverts. So the process for display advertising, you can see we actually start off very much the same, which is step one, understanding our customers. Step two, finding placement ideas. Step three is thinking about creating the advert as well, and then we'll put all the steps together. So with this, first and foremost, we want to determine who is your audience. So again, we've asked this question and posed this question to Paulie. Paulie's like, right, I answered this earlier on. My three audience or my three potential customers or main types of customers are students, busy professionals, pizza lovers. And then we've asked them again, where are they? But this time, the difference is we're not asking Paulie, where are they based geographically? We're asking Paulie here, where are they spending time online? So Paulie's come back here for students. They're spending a lot of time on kind of student websites, maybe kind of think the likes of kind of student discount websites. For busy professionals, they're spending a lot of time maybe on kind of local food directory websites or apps in general. And for pizza lovers, they might be kind of spending a lot of time on food blogs, kind of just hearing from other food bloggers, for example, in terms of how they found particular restaurant establishments in general as well. Now, step two is kind of finding placement ideas. So we want to really kind of hone in on where we want our advert to be placed. Now you can see Google Display Planner, that's actually been replaced by what's known as kind of audience segments. So you might see this section which says audience segments within Google Ads. This is where you're able to kind of really hone down in terms of kind of the age range, kind of other demographics, in terms of where people are going to be spending time, in terms of what sort of words and phrases people are typing in online, and kind of going to certain websites, because we want to make sure that our display advert appears on appropriate websites that are relevant to what we have got to say and generally what we have got to sell as a business, whether it be product or service related as well. Now, step three is all about creating an engaging advert, because I'm sure kind of for many of you out there, I kind of feel the same at times as well. With some of these kind of these display adverts, they seem to kind of go into the periphery of the general consumer these days. So whenever we're looking at something, we kind of typically just by default, we ignore some of these display adverts. So we want to make sure that they're eye-catching, but we also want to make sure that we're not kind of overselling ourselves and under-delivering, because that, again, isn't a great look for a business either as well. So we want to make sure that we capture people's attention. So whether that be by making sure that our picture is nice and crisp and of great quality, make sure that we have kind of, as you can see here with the example of Paulie's Pizzeria, it says pizza in Edgbaston, kind of does what it says essentially. It's also got a nice kind of offer here which says buy one pizza get second one for free as well. And just kind of don't be afraid to kind of try different things around. And as was quite rightly mentioned by Michael earlier on, it's important to test and see the performance of the various photos, various text that you're using in terms of your headlines for your display adverts as well. So putting all this together, in terms of running display adverts, we can still use the Google Ads platform for that, but the type of campaign that we are creating here is now known as a display campaign. And we'll get kind of different kind of wizard options that we can go through in the various menus, and we'll be able to kind of select what's our main motive of our display campaign, whether it's to create that brand awareness and reach, whether it's to get more people visiting your websites, or kind of sales as well. And predominantly in the beginning, I'm sure many people who might be using display types of advertising, might just be wanting to get the name out there first and foremost as well. We can then be specific with our location targeting as well. And then we can also kind of look at our kind of audience segments to make sure that we are appearing on the right type of websites for our organization. And then also we can go ahead and create an advert, test it, optimize it, try different headlines, review it. You can see here we can actually review what it looks like on mobile. And as I mentioned before, mobile kind of first in terms of checking out, especially an advert, how it's all kind of working and operating as well. So that's kind of the process, or kind of the whistle stop tour version of how to get yourself set up with running display types of advertising, if that is a consideration for you as well. So in terms of kind of questions, I'm a little bit kind of conscious in terms of the time that we have remaining, because we've got one more type of advertising to get through, but I'm sure that Mohammed is kind of answering as many questions in the chats as possible. But all I keep seeing as I'm kind of going through is I am seeing the live chat kind of move up every so often as well. So it's great to kind of see you all interacting and engaging in the live chat. And that's what these live webinar sessions are all about, is getting involved as we go along. So if I move into the final type of advertising, which is social paid advertising. So what is social paid advertising, or social advertising, or paid social media advertising, or social media marketing? It all kind of comes into the same bracket, which is basically you are running adverts on social media platforms. That's essentially all that means. You can see a handful of these social media platforms out there, and that's just kind of only a few. And you can see here with the likes of kind of Twitter, that's been rebranded to X as well. We haven't got the likes of TikTok there, but there are some other social media platforms as well to consider there as well. But essentially, that is another avenue and another form of advertising to consider as well. So why should we consider, especially in light of looking at running adverts that appear on Google, on the Google search results page, and also understanding display advertising and basically running these kind of online billboards across publisher sites? Why should we then also consider running adverts on social media? And it's a case of not kind of thinking about, I want to advertise them all, because again, budget will dictate on a lot of that, but also why should we consider this over maybe some of the other options? So it's important to note with social media and advertising on there is we can actually advertise in kind of multiple different facets, in that we can actually run an advert for people who don't know about our business and have never heard of us before, and never heard about whatever product that we sell or whatever service that we provide. And essentially, by running adverts, we can get into their news feed and tell them a bit more about us, tell them a bit more about what we are all about. And on the flip side, we can also run adverts on social media for those individuals who follow us, for those individuals who may have bought from us, and kind of are engaging and interacting with what our social media presence is all about as well. And we can run different types of adverts for them. So it could be adverts to get them to come back. So maybe we've got offers for Halloween, for example. Maybe we've got kind of upcoming Black Friday and Christmas sales coming up that we can kind of look to entice them back with these social media adverts as well. So that's something to kind of consider, is that we can sort of use multiple types of advertising for different types of potential customers in general as well. So what are kind of the main differences between both organic and paid social media? So if you look at organic social media, I like to kind of rephrase this to free social media. So this is where you can actually do this right now. So by very virtue of you having something like a business page set up on Instagram, Facebook, or a YouTube channel set up, you can actually post something for free at no charge. It doesn't cost you a penny to do, and you can just go ahead and fire it out there as part of your content. So there's no paywall there. However, the caveat and the drawback to this is that you're only able to reach a certain proportion of your followers, or the people that interact and engage with your page, for example, your business, right? And that's where paid social media comes into play. So that is where you were able to essentially open up those floodgates and actually get your business, get your products, your service offering into the news feeds and timelines of those individuals who don't necessarily know about you and don't necessarily know that they want to buy from you until they come across your advert, for instance, and they think, "Oh, that's an interesting business. Let me find out more and let me go ahead and maybe buy from them before." Because those are individuals who may not, probably would not have heard about you or clicked onto your Instagram page, for example, if it wasn't for the fact that you're running an advert as well. However, you can see that there's the word paid, and that's kind of in line with all the other types of advertising that we spoke about, whereby you need a budget at play as well. So there's kind of trade-offs in that respect as well. But it's important to consider this as an option, as a route to even kind of play around with and experiment with the odd ad or two, and see how you kind of get on, see what results you're getting as well with that. So if we kind of have a look at kind of the differences between kind of organic social media and paid social media types of posts. So you can see here, this is just kind of a mocked up example of kind of a Facebook advert on the right hand side. On the left hand side is kind of just kind of an organic or kind of free post. So with the one that you can see, which is an advert, you can see that we've also got kind of a little bit of a box around the image. We've also got kind of an ad headline which says "look good and feel good," and then we've got the description underneath that, and then a link to Fabletics website as well. And if you were to click on any part of either that image or the headline or the description area, anywhere within that kind of that faint box, you will then jump through to the website or to a particular page. I'm not sure what it's kind of linked to specifically here as well, but you can also see that there is this box, this kind of button which says like page. So that's something that you can actually add onto a Facebook advert as well, which allows people to interact there and then with your advert straight away, which is something which you wouldn't get with kind of the free version, where you just post something out without kind of running an advert. And the main thing here is that you can actually see, it might be a little bit challenging to see, is next to the word sponsored, which means you know that it's an advert. There's a little globe, which is great, which is kind of grayed out here, and that globe essentially means that this advert is appearing into the news feeds of people who don't necessarily follow Fabletics or don't really know what they're about, or probably wouldn't have found them as well. But this is something, this suggested post, this advert will essentially appear within other people's news feeds as well. With Instagram as well, the big kind of clue to know that this is an advert is that it says things like shop now. It's got this kind of colorful strap line, the one that you can see on the right hand side, is that it says shop now as well. The one thing I actually do like with the right hand side post with the adverts is with Adidas Original here as the example. They've actually got kind of a little bit of information with the features just at the top of the image, and then it's actually got a dotted line which actually draws our attention as a consumer down to the actual product. We look at the product and then we see another dotted line, and that dotted line actually goes down to where it says shop now as well. Just a really kind of clever piece of marketing. I just wanted to kind of point out there as well. But the main thing that you can see here is that it says shop now, and that's when you know that this is an advert that Adidas Original kind of placed, and this will appear again in the news feeds of people who don't necessarily follow Adidas Original's Instagram channel in general as well. And then finally, you've got the likes of kind of Twitter, or X as it's known now, and the way to kind of, I guess, kind of tell that this is an advert, because it's less kind of obvious, the one on the right hand side, that it is an advert. But the main thing that you'd be able to kind of spot is that to the bottom of the advert, it says the word promoted with a little up arrow there as well. So that's when you know that this is an advert. And again, the biggest clue out of all of these types of, wherever these adverts do appear, is that they appear in front of people who weren't necessarily looking for that business or for that particular page in general as well. So it's important to kind of note that, right? So in terms of kind of where to advertise, in terms of which social media platform to advertise, it's very important to note where your customers are spending time, and where your potential customers are spending time. Where's your biggest kind of attraction? Where's your biggest base of people who are interested in your content? Is it YouTube? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Is it TikTok? What is it? And we can kind of do some homework with this. Some of it we'll be able to find out through through kind of speaking to our customers or previous customers. And then also what you can do is you can actually also check out our webinar session that we run called Social Media Strategy, where we talk about this in more detail in terms of making sure that we are a bit more kind of laser focused in terms of spending time creating engaging content on platforms where we believe we have more kind of potential customers in general as well. So that's kind of a question which is very much going to differ in terms of the answer for pretty much most of you who are tuned in for this particular session, because it can vary via industry as well. So to get started with social media advertising, as well as kind of choosing audience, we've kind of added an extra one here, which says choose your objective, what in terms of what you're looking to get out of social media. Then we've got our audience, then we go ahead and create our advert, and then also set our budget, which is an important part, probably that kind of flows through all of the types of advertising that we spoke about in this session already as well. So in terms of understanding where is your audience, a really great tool that can help us out is the insights tool, kind of the analytics tool that are built into these social media platforms. So in line with kind of what Michael was mentioning earlier, it's important to use these types of analytical tools, look at the stats, look at the data. But then it's all going to well looking at these charts and data, especially if we are doing well in terms of we're getting a lot of people coming through to our pages, our social media pages. But we want to take action off the back of them as well. So we want to kind of use this information in terms of understanding who they are, who are the people on the other end of the screen who are interacting with our social media pages, but then also take some time and action off the back of them as well. The beauty of these tools is that they are built directly into the social media platforms. So you've got the likes of Facebook Insights, you've got Instagram Insights, you've got YouTube Analytics there as well. So you can use all of these kind of tools which are built directly into each one of these social media platforms. And then you can also kind of cross-refer with the likes of Google Analytics, which is a website analytics tool, which you can sign up for and create at no charge, and actually kind of follow a bit more of the journey, especially if kind of maybe considering in the future running some of the other types of advertising that we spoke about earlier on as well. We can also find out what our competitors are doing, which is kind of a beauty of having a social media presence as well. So this is what Paulie can do. Maybe one of Paulie's competitors is Pizza Rapido, and actually kind of find out a little bit more about what they're doing, how they're engaging, how they're interacting. Because let's say Paulie doesn't yet have a Facebook presence, but if there's a lot of people interacting with Pizza Rapido, which is Paulie may be counting as a competitor, Paulie might think, oh, let me set up Paulie's Pizzeria on with a Facebook profile. Maybe look to run some adverts on there perhaps as well. So we can actually use that very kind of productively to actually find out whether there's an appetite for our type of customers on particular platforms as well. And then we can kind of use, as I spoke about earlier on, we can use tools such as the likes. This is kind of a screenshot of kind of the older version of Google Analytics, as it's kind of changed now to a newer version called Google Analytics 4, which we talk about in more detail in our Find Insights with Analytics session. But we're able to kind of find out a little bit more detail in terms of how people are kind of coming to our website, and then what they're interacting with in general as well. So be sure to kind of check out all of those tools. But the main thing I'd always impress with any types of analysis, any types of looking at statistics and data, is to make sure that we make interpretations off the back of these results, these figures that we see, and then take some steps in order to make some adjustments, and then monitor that as well. And it's an iterative process as time goes along as well. And then finally, just to kind of round off this session, we want to ensure that whatever kind of social media platform we're using, that we're kind of using the right type of targeting option. So with Facebook, we can target people in terms of our advert based upon their location, things like their age, their interests, their life events. With Twitter, you can do the same with key differences being targeting people based upon certain keywords that they type into Twitter, or kind of X as it is now, or who they're following. And then you've got the likes of LinkedIn. You can kind of run adverts based upon people's job titles or skill sets in general as well. So if you kind of match some of these statements to the social network, I want to target females who live in Coventry, like jewelry, and have a birthday coming up. So that would typically be, let's say, Facebook, because you've got a life event there, have a birthday coming up. It's got interests in jewelry as well. And then it's also got the likes of a location in Coventry there as well. And then you've got in the middle, I want to target people who live in Leeds and are following my competitors. So that one actually lends itself to X as a platform as well, because kind of following competitors, you're able to kind of target based upon other accounts that are being followed on that platform as well. And then the final one, I want to target financial directors who work in IT and are based in the UK. So that one has got kind of a job title there and kind of an industry as well. So that lends itself to LinkedIn as well. So with that in mind, I can't see any final questions. I believe that Mohammed has been answering these questions in the chat. So I want to kind of roll into your next steps. So in terms of your next steps, be sure to check out the one-to-one mentoring. As I mentioned, you're able to have that kind of more tailored discussion, which unfortunately these webinars don't allow for. So be sure to kind of check that out if you work or run a small business based in the small business or charity, and you're based in the UK. So be sure to kind of check that out. The link is there on screen. I'm sure that Mohammed will kind of drop another link for this in the chat for you as well. Be sure to also check out all the resources on the Google Digital Garage website, including sign up for more webinars, so some of the topics that I mentioned earlier on as well, in particular, as well as signing up for some of the Google Digital Garage courses. There is a course in particular called the Fundamental of Digital Marketing course, which you'll receive a certificate off the back of at no charge from Google, which is accredited by the Open University as well, and will give you that kind of knowledge in terms of how the world of digital marketing in its totality works as well. So apart from that, I want to say a massive thank you to Mohammed, who I'm sure agrees has been a wonderful chat moderator. So feel free to show your appreciation in the chat for Mohammed, and thank you all for tuning in to this Google Digital Garage webinar session, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you. Bye.